Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to HemingwayLand.com, your source for quality, affordable land in the state of New Mexico. So we're going to do something a little different in this video today. This is not going to be a property-specific video, but rather a subdivision-specific video. This is another one of these instances in which we are buying a bulk amount of properties in one small region, one small subdivision. And so we're going to talk about all of them here because the information will be largely interchangeable lot per lot. Additionally, we tend to do this when we anticipate that we're going to have a revolving door of inventory in a given region for a long period of time. So, for instance, this region that we're buying in today is called Carson Estates. It's in Taos County. As right now, when I make this video, we're going to be listing about 70 properties. I anticipate as time goes on, we're going to sell 30, we're going to buy another 30, so on and so forth. This region is very similar to another subdivision that we buy and sell land in. And we have a lot of success with it. Our buyers really like it. So I'm anticipating a similar response here. And if that's the case, these are going to be on the website for a while. Now, before I get started on this, I just want to say I'm probably going to talk about 20 plus minutes in this video. If you have any kind of interest at all in this region, I'd encourage you to watch this all the way through the end. However boring this may get, I promise it's going to be informative. I promise you're going to learn a lot. And it's going to also save you the trouble of having to call us to ask us questions. Everything I discussed here is everything I know about it, okay? Number one. Number two, on our main New Mexico page, our counties are alphabetized. If you scroll down to Taos County, we're going to have 2 listings up top. They're going to remain here from now till the end of time. The first of the Tres Piedras listings. It's a master page with all our information on those. Master list plus FAQ. This is going to be the Carson Estates page. If you're interested in these Carson properties, I'd encourage you, come here, go to this one, click the Learn More button. It will take you to our main page of Carson Estates information. All of this is going to be written on every one of our individual listing pages. We're also going to have a master list of a spreadsheet that's going to be linked here along with all of our pages. Most helpfully, however, we're going to have this frequently asked questions section. Guys, let me tell you, if you have a question about this region, I promise I've already answered it 10,000 times before on the phone. Okay, by phone, by email, etc. So this FAQ is tailored to all of the questions that we get on a regular daily basis. And I promise you, if you have any sort of question about this region, it's going to be answered here. If it's not, if you have a question that we have not addressed here, I will be genuinely shocked. So I would encourage you guys, even if you don't want to listen to this video for 20 minutes, come here, peruse the FAQ. I promise your question will be answered here. Additionally, down here, we've also got some county and government contact information that will be helpful for you guys as you do your due diligence. Do I want to buy this? Am I going to build on it? What do I need to know? These are the offices, these are the government entities that are best going to be able to answer your questions about zoning, about environmental law, about building codes, so on and so forth. And finally, down here in the gallery, we've got some plat maps. We've got ones that we've created, which you can read. We've got ones provided by the county, which no one can read. And then we've got photos from the region. To be clear, guys, we've got about a bajillion photos here, which should give you an excellent sense of the property, the terrain, the surroundings. These are not property-specific photos, but rather subdivision-specific. So if you're looking to buy a lot and you really want to lay eyes on a particular property, you're going to have to do that on your own. You're going to have to hire somebody out there. You're going to have to drive out to the property. These photos, however, should give you an excellent idea of what it's like out there. Additionally, we're going to have a drone video posted down here at the bottom of every listing page. Watch that, and it too will give you a good sense of these things. So with all that said, I'm just going to navigate away from this for a bit. I'm going to go back to the main listing page here. This is one of our listing pages for the properties we're going to have out here in Carson Estates. These are pretty much going to be interchangeable with the exception of just the legal information down here in the table. Okay, we're going to have all the photos at the bottom, the drone video at the bottom, same write-up up here, same link to the spreadsheet. But the point is that when you figured out which property you want to buy, it'll be best to navigate to that specific listing page, click the Buy Now button, and you can purchase. I'll get back to that in a bit, though. Let's pull these up on a map, talk about where these are located. As with all of our listings, we've got GPS coordinates down here. Click any one of them, 4 corner points in the center, and they will bring it up here on Google Maps. So first, let's go to map view. Let's pull back. Let's talk about where this is in Planet New Mexico. For the uninitiated, Taos County, where these properties are, sits up here in the north central part of the state. This lot is roughly about 20 minutes shy of the Colorado border, 20 minutes shy of legal marijuana. If we right-click and measure distance, you could see, okay, I undershot it a bit. It's about 30 minutes. But the point is it's pretty close to Colorado. Number one. Number two, the properties are also very close to Taos proper. I'm sure many of you know Taos is very hip, very sort of artsy town. Population center, certainly of the county, and one of the major towns within the state of New Mexico, one of the most notable. These properties over here in Carson Estates sit roughly 13 miles away as the crow flies. Of course, most of that is highway drive here along the 64, so it's probably like a 10-minute drive back and forth. Now, I'm noting this because here in Taos is where you've got the population center. It's also where you've got a lot of stores, essentially groceries, supplies, hospital, medical, schools, churches, whatever you're going to want is going to be here in nearby Taos. So if you're going to be building out of the property, you need to go to the nearby Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, buy some, I don't even know, hammer, nails, wrenches, and screwdrivers. That's where you would go. Clearly, I've never constructed anything in my life. Additionally, guys, it should also be noted the properties sit very close to the Taos Ski Valley, to Angel Fire over here. This, of course, is some of the best skiing in America. When you talk about great skiing in America, you're talking about Taos, and you're talking about Telluride. And you've got Taos right here in your backyard, and honestly, Telluride, Colorado is not too far away either. So I'll leave it at that. I'll come back to that in a bit. Anyway, point being, guys, as we zoom in here on the map, you've got Highway 64 over here. You've got the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge over here. The Carson Estates subdivision sits west of that, and it sits southwest of that. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge, you can kind of pull up a picture here and get a little sense of it, or you can Google it. I promise when you'll see it, you'll recognize it immediately. You've seen it in a million TV shows and movies. It's an iconic piece of engineering in northern New Mexico. But they've got the overlook area over here where you can go take pictures, etc. And, of course, just west and southwest of that is Carson Estates. Now, the areas that you see cut out on the map here and down here are all Carson Estates. This area in between is not. There are 6 units of land that make up Carson Estates. They are Unit 1, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 11, and down here we have Unit 2 and Unit 3. In case you didn't hear me say 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, it's because those units don't exist. And I don't understand why anybody would draw it up that way, but that's the way they did it. So, point being, 1, 4, 5, and 11 up here, 2 and 3 down here. And in case you can't keep track of what I'm saying, on our Carson Estates page, we have these very helpful plat maps that we have created, at the very least, these unit maps to give you a sense. Here's Highway 64. Here are the access roads into both. If you go west, these are the units you're going to encounter along Sheep Herders Road. If you go south along West Rim Road, you'll come to units 2 and 3. And then, of course, we've done this, magnify them to make it even more helpful to read and understand for you, the viewer buyer. Anyway, back here to the map. So, a couple things to note. Number one, on the map, you're going to see 2 areas. You're going to see this gray area right here, and you're going to see this tan area right here. Here's what's notable about this. The gray area is all BLM land. It's all Bureau of Land Management land. It's all government land, okay? That's the kind of land that doesn't get sold off to the developers. That's the kind of land where they don't come and build a Walmart on it. Additionally, the tan land that you see over here, this is all thousands and thousands of acres of Carson National Forest. So what this means is, number one, this is a beautiful region up here. And you'll see more of that as I go through the photos. But what it means is that that beauty is going to be protected for years to come. So whatever views you end up buying out here, whatever gorgeous views you have of mountains and sky, you're going to have those from now till the end of time. Number one. Number two, it also means that essentially within your backyard, you've got thousands and thousands of acres of land to explore, hiking, camping, etc. You can also do some hunting over here in the Carson National Forest. This is all really right in your backyard. Whether literally or figuratively, you're close enough that you're going to be able to explore all this on your own. And again, the natural beauty that you have out here is not going to be hindered over time by development. It's just one of these regions that cannot be developed, okay? So that's number one. Number two, for the rest of this, I'm going to just go to the gallery. I'm going to show you guys some photos. While you listen to me drone on, we'll look at pretty pictures. So, as noted, Carson Estates is very similar to the Tres Piedras Estates subdivision. And by that I mean they're both subject to Taos County zoning law, which is fairly laid back in these regions. Now, I don't want to give you guys the impression that zoning laws don't exist out here, that Taos County doesn't have them. They certainly do. They certainly do in Taos proper. When you get into these undeveloped regions, however, they tend to be a lot more hands-off, a lot more laissez-faire about this sort of thing. So, for instance, in Taos County, most notably, you can RV and camp on a property for 180 days at a time. And most likely, no one's keeping track when you hit day 181. So we call these properties RV friendly because of that, because they have less strict or looser guidelines about RV usage, about camping within their county. And we have a lot of buyers who are really interested in that. They want to buy a property where they can go for the summer, where they can camp for indiscriminate periods of time. These properties are ideal for that. Additionally, within Taos County, because the zoning is so lax within these regions, these tend to be home to a lot of people who want to build tiny homes, shipping container homes, and particularly earthship homes. Earthship homes are very, very popular out here in Carson Estates. What are earthship homes, you may be asking? Well, I am terrible at explaining it, so I'm going to go to Google and I'm going to read this. An earthship is a kind of passive solar home or community of homes, typically made of natural and recycled materials such as old tires and recycled cans. Such homes make use of non-polluting renewable energy sources and smart design to meet most, if not all, heating, cooling, and power needs. All right, so the point here, guys, is that this region has become a kind of haven for people who want to build those renewable, green, sustainable lifestyles, who want to build structures like that. So you'll find a lot of it out there. You'll also find some structures like this and like what I'm showing you here, which, are essentially single-family residences, though they're, not in the best shape, but, people are living out of them. They've been able to create a lifestyle for themselves out there, etc. So that's another reason why this region and the other subdivision, Tres Piedras, tend to be really popular with our buyers, because you can do things here that you can't do in other areas of the state. Additionally, by the way, as I start to go through the photos here, you're going to get a sense of really just how pretty this area is. Northern New Mexico in general, but out here in Taos County, really beautiful. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that, and just to kind of bring you back to the map here for a second, to anybody looking at this like, okay, I think I might want to buy out there. The other thing you should be aware of is that there are no utilities in this region. You might have power and just a little bit shy of Unit 1 up here, but there are not power lines throughout this area. There's no power lines throughout here. There's no underground telecom lines. When our photographer was out there for 2 days, he reported really good cell reception. But overall, if you're planning to build out here, you're most likely going to have to anticipate solar being the way that you bring energy to whatever structure you build or park on this land, okay? So no utilities in the region, and if you're going to ask, well, will there be utilities in the next 5 years? What are the chances this area will be developed? Very little chance of this area being developed with utilities. For a variety of reasons, I would only bore you with. The point being, if you're looking at these properties, you're seriously considering buying one of them, you should be aware of that. So full disclosure, you're most likely going to have to rely on solar or some other alternative form of energy to power your property, okay? Additionally, other thing I want to talk about. So Carson Estates is one of these subdivisions. It was created back in the 60s. There's a lot of this going on back then. The developers bought up thousands of acres of land, and they chopped everything up into quarter-acre lots. Let me say that another way. The entire subdivision are quarter-acre lots. So all these thousands of acres of land that you see represented up here and here, all broken down to quarter acres. I'm saying this because a lot of people call us wanting 5, 10 acres, 3 acres, 2 acres. And I can't stress to you how next to impossible it is to pull some of that off. Today, as we're debuting these properties, we've got a couple 3/4 acre properties. That's 3 adjacent lots. We've got a few 1 acre properties. And we've got a little bit like a 1 1/4 acre property. And these are really, really hard to come by. I'm sure I'll have more in the future, but they're the rural land equivalent of unicorns is my point. And this is the case for a number of reasons. Number one is when they first developed this region, they sold these properties at a pretty good price. So casual investors were not buying more than one, number one. Number two, just because of various circumstances that have gone on over time, most of the people who own land in this region are dead, which is my way of saying that they didn't deed the property properly. They didn't convey it to the next generation properly, and the next generation isn't too interested in it and going through the probate process. So there's a lot of dead people who own land out here. So even if you found, let's say, 8 adjacent quarter-acre lot owners, and you could buy from them and you could buy 2 acres of land, I mean, that presumes they're all 1 living, 2 are the only names on the deed, 3 they can sell it, they're inclined to sell it to you for that amount of money, so on and so forth. And that's why it's so hard to find adjacent lots out here. So point being, to answer that question, quarter acre is the common thing out here. Occasionally we'll stumble upon a little bit more. Okay. Now, I mention all this because in New Mexico, you hear this kind of old wives' tale, this urban legend of you can't build on land that's under 3/4 of an acre in rural areas. And rural, of course, is described as anything like this without city utilities. That's not totally true. What it is that environmental law in the state sort of demands that if you're going to put down a conventional well and a conventional septic system, you need yay amount of space between those two things. And that yay amount of space shakes out to be about 3/4 of an acre of land total. Okay. And again, that's in regions where you don't have city water, where you don't have city sewer. Now, in this region, in Carson Estates, the water table, as far as drilling a well out here, it's considered prohibitively expensive. So you're not really going to have to worry about that traditional well situation to begin with. So then it kind of takes you down to just worrying about a conventional septic system. Well, so much has changed and evolved as far as the technology with that in the years that have passed since that sort of became the de facto thing in New Mexico, that there's a lot of workarounds for that. We have some of them listed on our Carson Estates page. We talk about them a little bit. I don't remember them offhand, but I know just riffing here for a second that there's a lot of green, sustainable, renewable alternative sources, alternative ways to dispose of waste, such as compost toilets. And compost toilets generally tend to be pretty popular in regions like this. Additionally, when we talk about how are we getting water out here, rainwater catchment is one way. Another way are holding tanks. A lot of people use holding tanks out in this region. Now, it should be noted, typically in what you'll find in Tres Piedras, which you'll find out here in Carson, is that you have people who do have wells, and generally what they'll do is they'll charge like, I don't know, a nickel a gallon or something like that. So if you want to fill up a holding tank with a week's worth of water or something, you can go to their well, you can pay them, etc. So you don't have to drive all the way into Taos. Worrying about water, drinking water, bathing water doesn't become a problem then with people like that. And I wish I could find the contact information for some of these people because I know they exist. I've heard about them, but I don't know who they are or how to get in contact with them. But that's going to be the thing that if you are looking to buy land out there, that's one of the things you want to ask the locals about. You want to investigate on your own. Who are the people who have wells? Who are the people who sell water? What rates do they sell them at? How much can I get in any one given time? So on and so forth. Because it may help you determine how exactly you're getting water to the property. But the point of all this is that, yes, if you want to build on a property that's under 3/4 of an acre, such as these very common quarter-acre lots, a lot of people living out here, a lot of people with land, they're only living on quarter-acre lots. How are they doing that? Because building a structure is not necessarily the problem. It's the septic and the well. So after you kind of work around those, then, it's not so much an issue. Now, it should be noted, of course, the least amount of zoning hurdles will be for properties over that 3/4 of an acre threshold, because you're not only dealing with the county, you're dealing with the New Mexico EPA, and they have a lot to say about waste disposal within their state. And you're also dealing with, if you're trying to actually get a well, you're dealing with the Office of the State Engineer, who has, essentially they give out well permits, they give out water right permits, and they would be the ones to talk to you about getting a well drilled on a piece of property. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, guys, with all that said, I will let you peruse the rest of the gallery on your own time. Very beautiful pictures. I'd encourage you to take a look at them, as well as the drone video. One of the last things here that I want to direct your attention to, on every one of our Carson pages, we're going to have a link to this spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is going to be of all the properties that we have, and currently they're all marked white because they're all available. As they sell over time, we'll mark them blue. But one of the things that we have on this spreadsheet, I assume most of you who are watching this video are kind of familiar with how we do this on the website. But we've added a new thing here. These are the unit plat maps. Now, these are not property specific. Let me say that again. Not property specific, but they will show you what the Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, so on and so forth plat maps look like. So you can click on these things. It'll come up in its own window, and you can actually magnify them. So I think the average person would go blind trying to read this. If you have a magnifying glass in 100 years, maybe you can discern some detail from it. I think overall these things are not all that great, but we get so many requests for them that I wanted to be able to provide them. So bringing them up here on the spreadsheet will allow you to magnify them. Look at this, guys. Zoom in, and maybe, hopefully, fingers crossed, not go as blind trying to read and discern details. Okay, so if you're trying to see lot dimensions, they're illustrated here. It's probably going to be the same for all of these. 172.34 length. The width is roughly whatever this is, 63.7. So on and so forth. But it'll also give you a sense of how the plat is broken down. Should be noted, guys, that we also reiterate the plat down here, this is the arrangement of lots and blocks, okay? So if we're selling 3 adjacent lots and they're A, B, C, that probably makes good sense to you. You probably understand why A, B, and C are adjacent. But if we're selling 3 adjacents and we tell you they're A, J, and I, this also gives you a sense of why J would be close to A, okay? Anyway, with all that said, as illustrated here on the spreadsheet, we're offering easy financing for the quarter acre and the half acre lots. They are respectively $300 down, $100 a month for 16 months, or $500 down, $100 a month times 24 months. For the record, guys, all of our contracts include prepayment incentives, no prepayment penalties. So if you put the down payment and a day later you win the lotto, we're not going to charge you the whole price. We're just going to charge you the cash price. Linked on every one of our listing pages will be a generic version of one of our standard land contracts, so you can review that. If you want to look at this prior to purchase so you know what you're getting into, you can read this here and see exactly what the terms and conditions are. Notice we have the 90 days same as cash written into this, okay? Finally, guys, if you do want to purchase one of these properties, easiest ways to do it, on each individual listing page, we're going to have the cash price. Click this. It's a button. It's going to take you to secure checkout. We're going to ask for credit or debit card information as well as name for deed, things like that. Or we've got the financing checkout here. Click on this, and this will take you to the $300 down, $100 a month. Again, enter your information, credit card on the next page, and you can put down the down payment on the property. For the record, guys, I know it looks like it's $400 at checkout. It's not. It's $300 at checkout. I wish we could present this information differently. We can't. I'm sorry, but $300 down, $100 a month is what it shakes out to. Anyway, with all that said, guys, I think I covered the major points here with these. Only thing I forgot to mention, all of these lots have legal access. There are legal easements to all of these properties. The roads may not be that great in some areas of the subdivision, but you don't have to cross anybody else's land to get to your land, okay? Anyway, with all that said, if you do have any questions that are not addressed in the FAQ, the thorough and comprehensive FAQ, feel free to leave a comment here on the YouTube. Shoot us an email, support@hemingwayland.com, or give us a call, 702-919-7170. These lots, these RV, earthship friendly type lots, I anticipate are going to be very popular if history is any indication. Very similar to our Tres Piedras lots. So I hope you guys like the subdivision as much as I do. We're going to have a lot of inventory out there now and in the months to come. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in the next video.